These two videos were taken in the same exact spot with the same exact camera. Also, these two and these two, same. So why the right ones look 100 times better than the left ones? Well, it's the same reason why you can't achieve that professional look you're dreaming of in your room. But don't worry, because by the end of this video, you're going to learn what you're doing wrong, why you've been thinking about gear in the wrong way, and the exact steps to take to start looking like the top 1% of online creators out there. And I guarantee you that because in the past few years, I built dozens and dozens of studios for myself and for my clients in any room you can think of. Garages, kitchens, bedrooms, corridors, I mean, you name it. Inside my home studio blueprint, I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs look great on camera, and I noticed that people tend to make the same mistakes over and over again, and they can be distilled into three main areas: positioning, lighting, and background design. At the end of the video, I'm gonna break down a bunch of studios I created so you'll know exactly how to fix yours. And remember that in the description, you'll also find my list of recommended gear completely for free. So first, let's talk about positioning, because this alone can make or break the look of your entire studio, even before you hit record. There are three main positioning elements you need to focus on: the camera, the subject, and the lighting. First, let's talk about camera. One of the most common mistakes I see is placing the camera too close to the wall behind you. When you do that, you lose all the depth. Everything looks flat and amateur. Instead, you want your camera to be as far away as possible from the background. That simple move creates separation, adds dimension, and helps you get that creamy bouquet effect that instantly makes your shot look more cinematic. Second, keep the camera level and aligned with the horizon. No tilting, no crooked angles. Your camera shouldn't look up your nose or down from above, just straight on, perfectly balanced. It's the easiest way to make your shot feel grounded, natural, and intentional. And finally, pay attention to what's in your frame and remove, or maybe just cut out, everything that is not necessary. I'm talking about things like random light switches, doors, window frames, ceiling corners, or even power sockets if you can. All those little distractions take away from the polish of your shot. Frame the background with intention. I mean, of course, in certain areas you won't be able to remove everything, but just keep this in mind. Also, we're going to talk about the background later in the video, but now let's switch to the subject, yourself. If you're doing, let's say, a classic talking head video, place yourself right in the middle. Not too high, not too low. You just want a little headroom, and your face should sit roughly on the top third line of the screen, and it just feels better to the viewer. Now, another trick. Don't stand too close to the camera. The closer you are, the more bouquet effect you get, which is good. But if you overdo it, your face is gonna look distorted. You're just gonna fill up too much of the frame. Find a balance. Depending on your lens, aim to frame yourself from about the chest up. You don't need your legs in the shot unless they're part of the story. If you like a wider shot and you have space, you can maybe integrate the desk in the frame. This is totally okay, but it's also okay to just not show it. Lastly, we need to talk about lighting position. But first, I want to talk about the main type of lights that you can get. And be very attentive here, because lighting is one of the most misunderstood parts of studio setups. This is where most people go wrong, but also where the biggest gains are. Not all lights are created equal, and there are some differences. For example, ring lights are the easiest to use and super popular, but they create flat, boring light that makes everyone looks the same. Obviously, they're good for quick content, but they're not great if you're looking for a pro vibe. LED panels are a step up. They're bright and adjustable, but they can be harsh on your face unless you use a diffuser. Then you've got tube lights, which are long, narrow lights often used for background or accent lighting. They look cool, but they're not ideal as your main light source because they don't have a big diffusion. They are often RGB lights, which means they change color, and these are great, but mostly for the background only. They let you add mood and personality to your space, but they're not really helpful when it comes to lighting your face. Then we have softboxes, and these are the gold standard. They create soft, flattering light that wraps around your face and gives your video a polished, cinematic look. This should be your main key light, and I would highly suggest to avoid getting anything else that is not a softbox as a key light. But now, where do you position your softbox. So here we go. Keep it as close as possible to you. The closer the softbox is, the larger it becomes relative to your face. A larger light source wraps around your features more gently, reducing harsh shadows and softening skin texture, which is especially flattering for faces. The golden rule is to place it at about 45 degrees angle to your face and slightly above your island, just as it is right now for me. This mimics natural window light and adds shape and depth. If you want a more evenly lit face, go for something around, I would say 15 degrees, more frontal to your face. If you want more contrast instead and mood, you can push it more towards the side, let's say 60 degrees or more. Never place the light below you. It looks unnatural and adds unflattering shadows. Next, you need to test how the light hits your face. One thing to look for is the small reflection in your eyes called catch light. This tiny sparkle brings your face to life and adds a layer of connection with the viewer. Lastly, let's talk about settings. First, how powerful should your light be and how big your softbox should be? You know, lights can range from 10 watts to thousands of watts for cinema lights. I personally use a 60-watt light with a 60-centimeter softbox, and it works in every room I've filmed in. I travel a lot, and this is the best combo you can have if you need to fit everything in a 23 kg checked luggage. What matters more than power is how soft and well positioned the light is. That's why getting a softbox is so important. That said, the bigger your softbox, the more light output you'll need to maintain the same exposure. A larger softbox creates more flattering, wrapped around light, but it spreads light wider, so you might need a slightly stronger light source. I don't want to get too technical here, but for 90% of the cases, a 60 or maximum 90 centimeter softbox is already perfect, and you can get a light between 60 and 200 watts. Remember to download the list of gear I recommend using the link in the description. Next, let's talk about intensity. This really depends on your room, power of the light, softbox, camera settings, and lens. Unfortunately, there's not a rule here. You don't want to blast your face with max brightness. Too much light can blow out your skin and make you look washed out. Too little and you look dull or noisy. To find that sweet spot where your face is well lit but still looks natural. Then we have color. You want your main light to be somewhere around 5,600 Kelvin. That's daylight temperature. We're simulating sunlight. This gives your footage a neutral professional look. And also, quick extra tip, set your camera white balance to daylight too. Usually there is like an icon of a sun, but might depend on the camera that you have. But talking about colors, what about the lights in the background? Yes, exactly, that's what we're gonna cover now. This is where your studio come alive, so pay attention now. But before diving into lighting the background, let's do a step back and ask ourselves how to choose the right background whenever we jump and we enter in a new room. Well, we need to analyze the room and pick the right wall or section. You want a space that's wide enough. Ideally, I recommend at least 2.2 meters if you're shooting horizontal for YouTube, but this depends on the lens that you have. As always, for vertical content, even 1.5 meters could be enough. I recommend to avoid filming in corners when possible because it's difficult to make them look good. A flat wall, in my opinion, it's easier to manage. Also, avoid areas that have unwanted elements like windows, door frames, light switches, or power outlets in the shot if you can. These things just pull focus away from you. If you can stay away from plain white walls, they tend to look like flat and clinical. Instead, try to find a wall with some texture or color to add character, even if it's just subtle. If you have a white wall, I highly suggest to get at least wallpaper. In this studio, I bought a non-destructive wallpaper that came off without leaving a single mark, and it was amazing. Second, once you have your spot, start thinking about what to put behind you. You can use books, frames, plants, lamps, shelves, camera gear, small sculptures, really anything that reflects your brand or personality and that just looks good in the background. Just make sure nothing is bigger than your head unless it's a plant. This part of picking objects can be tricky. You need to have a bit of an aesthetic eye to make it look good. But in case you need further help, inside my home studio blueprint, I show you a ton of examples from start to finish so you can be confident designing your room. Or maybe if you need even further help, I offer a done-for-you service where I design and set up your studio from start to finish. If you want to apply, you'll find a link in the description. Next, try to balance both sides of the frame visually. You don't need perfect symmetry, but the shot should feel intentional. Subtle branded elements can also help tie things together. You could use, for example, your brand signature color across a few items, a framed photo of a past project, book you've written, maybe your product packaging, or even a symbolic object that represents your work, like, I don't know, a camera for content creators, a sketchpad for designers, or maybe a miniature plane for channels about aviation. I mean, you get the point, right? These details help your background reinforce your identity and catch viewers' attention as soon as they start your video. Once you lock in your background design, your space will go from looking like just a normal room to a space that builds trust, communicates quality, and elevates your brand on every single video. Now, let's talk about lighting the background. This might be the most important part of the whole video. If you want to go from nice to epic, you need to light the background separately. This is the secret most people miss. You can use anything: bed lamps, floor lamps, fairy lights, Christmas lights, LED pocket lights, whatever you have. The goal is to add depth, separation, and mood. Pick one single accent color and stick to it. If you can, use colors that connect with your ideal audience. For example, for this client, we use calming tones because she's a teacher. Instead, for DJ Hillier, we went for contrast and inspiring elements as he's a mental performance coach. Also, consider using complementary colors to make things pop, but don't go overboard. Take it easy. One accent color is usually enough. When I transformed this ugly garage into an epic studio, I painted a plywood board using concrete effect and created over 10 different setups using the same background but changing items and lighting. In this one, for example, I went for warm tones and a green to simulate I was in a jungle, also using a projector in the back. For this other one, I went for a very punchy, contrasty background using blue and red. For this one, again, using the same background, just using a black cloth on top of it, I used a window reflection using the projector, just a lamp with a plant and also a small floating plant. Super dramatic, but very cozy. For this one instead, I changed completely vibes and I decided to go for a different accent color, which is purple. And then again, I used the projector to have a sort of a tree in the background and some kind of pom-poms on the opposite side. Completely different mood from before. But this one, again, super different, very dramatic, just warm lights on one side with an X and a reflection of a window on the opposite side. Now make sure to subscribe because I'm gonna break down every setup from this transformation into an upcoming video here on YouTube. And if you're curious to see how I transformed an ugly bedroom into 4 epic studios with only $20, check out this video because I'm sure you're gonna love it. All right, see you here.